Being a clutch player is a skill that can make the difference in close games. To be clutch means you're able to perform when the pressure is on and it matters the most. In Valorant, we tend to call late round situations clutches, and it is vital to be able to win in those situations, but being a clutch player extends beyond just clutches. It also means you don't choke in the second half of close games or in overtime because the importance of the moment starts to get to your head. And if you're playing in tournaments, your clutchness comes into play even more as you progress in the competition and your matches become more and more important. There are 3 levels of mental fortitude that I use to evaluate and describe how a person performs in high pressure situations. The paradigm I outline here was first set out in 2012 by essayist and scholar Nassim Nicholas Taleb. The player who is least resilient to chaos is fragile. We all know what fragility means. The fragile player is the choker. When the pressure turns up, they break because their mental strength is flimsy and delicate. If a fragile player is flamed by their team, they're more likely to start playing worse. If they're in a clutch situation, they'll perform below their normal level. If this describes you, you probably dread situations where your whole team is relying on you. You can feel yourself sweat when your whole team is spectating you. Being fragile is extremely damaging to your ability, and as a player, it's fortunately something that you can actually improve. To become less fragile, we go to the next stage, and we become robust. The robust player does not choke. When they're faced with an important task, they will perform at a level reflective of their skill. Being robust is valuable because you're consistent. You won't cost your team the game, and the butterflies in your stomach in important moments don't hinder your play. If you want to develop robustness and become more mentally strong, you can adopt certain habits. You can avoid varying what you're doing too much. You can avoid taking unnecessary risks. Ignore your score, mentally distance yourself from the outcome of your games and focus on the process. Find what works and create a set of rules that govern how you approach certain situations. If you're trying to be more consistent in clutch situations, you can make yourself a checklist. Hey, when I'm clutching, I will stick the bomb to half, then get off, take a gunfight, and defuse if I survive. These are things that will help you be a more consistent, robust player. Now, if the model of a robust player describes you, you probably don't consider yourself to be a choker. You play the game the same, regardless of circumstance, and your team rarely finds itself struggling in close games because of you. But what I just described is not a clutch player, nor is it even the opposite of a fragile player. Because being robust is a middle ground. It's a pathway to a better type of player, the anti-fragile player. Now, being anti-fragile means that you are actually clutch. You thrive in chaotic, disorderly situations. When other people crack, you don't just survive, you thrive. You reflect the pressure of each moment out in your performance. Being anti-fragile is so important because it enables you to be a difference maker when it really counts. And to become anti-fragile, you have to move away from some of the things I just talked about that will make you robust. Instead of avoiding varying what you do, you have to embrace the randomness of the game and play more unpredictably as to catch your opponents off guard in clutch situations. Instead of avoiding risks, you have to take plenty of calculated risks and find reward where other players don't see it. Instead of ignoring your score, you try to find psychological line and use your score as fuel without letting it tilt you. Instead of distancing yourself from the outcome of the game, you invest your mind and heart into the game to bring the most out of yourself without being overwhelmed by emotion. And instead of finding what works and sticking to some fixed set of rules, you avoid what doesn't work, and everything else becomes a tool in your repertoire to apply creatively. Going from robust to anti-fragile might feel weird. You're giving up practices that made you feel consistent and mentally strong. Taking risks that you might deem unnecessary rather than playing it safe could even cost you games at first, but it will grow you as a player as you find your limits and start to outthink opponents. I'll let one of the most clutch people in history give his take.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
The point here is that while we all see Jordan's clutchest moments in every highlight reel, the stuff that doesn't go in the reel are the misses that made him so anti-fragile in the first place. Kobe Bryant, another famously clutch player, improved himself the same way. In his first season, the Lakers were playing the Utah Jazz and were one loss from elimination in the second round of the playoffs. Shaq fouled out, so Kobe said, "I will step up and lead this team to the end." In a 98-93 loss, this 18-year-old rookie shot not one, not two, not three, but 4 air balls in the last 5 minutes of the game. He has described that game and his awful mistakes as a defining moment in his career and life when he figured out what it truly took to succeed. So for you to become clutch and shed the choker label, you have to be willing to mess up a lot of clutches rather than playing it safe and staying in your comfort zone, because that's how you learn. And only through experimentation and a willingness to fail will you ever go from fragile to robust to anti-fragile. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, you can leave a like below, and if you're looking for more, you can subscribe. The support means so much to me. If you have any feedback, criticism, or praise, you can leave it below in the comments. I will read it, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Hope you guys are having a great week, and I will see you guys next time.